Here is a list of the types of rolls or the roll dimensions that you're likely going to run into when you go out to measure a job. In the real world, what happens often with designers, decorators, homeowners, is that they have not picked out a wallpaper yet, and they want to get a ballpark on the cost of the material and the cost of the labor. So with this roll, with the straight across match, you're only going to get 3 full strips from the floor to ceiling, and you'll have from the remnant fill-ins for above windows, doors, and under windows, depending upon the distance that they are, the height of the windows, the bottom section, all that depends, but you will have leftover to do those. With the other way, with the 4 strips and the random, you can't figure on getting those remnants, and so you'll have to figure them in your tally of how much you need. In a 2-story hallway like this, what you want to do is start with the longest piece or longest drop. Now, in this case, what you're doing is measuring from the ceiling to the lowest point of the sheet, and of course adding for selvage. If this was a pattern that I was measuring for, and a straight across match, what I would do, I would take the distance from the ceiling to the lowest dip of the sheet down the stairs, and I would add 1 pattern repeat to that strip. I think most paper hangers and designers would agree that where the paper stops at the ceiling line is a very important part of the wallpaper job. So you may ask, how do you decide where to stop the pattern at the ceiling? Here in this photo in a fast food restaurant, this is a custom print 54-inch wide commercial. You have the green arrow to the left showing a girl and her date are decapitated, and then the green arrow to the right shows another girl with the top of her head off. It didn't take too long for me to find a spot on this pattern where there would have been no decapitation whatsoever, and that is illustrated by the horizontal green line about a foot lower than where the paper was actually cut. Here's something to try to keep in mind when you're hanging wallpaper. You're very close to it. You're about 2 feet away from it. And you're not looking at it from 20 feet away. So a lot of times it's a very good idea to put up one piece, particularly with a pattern like this, step way back from it, and see if there's something that you're seeing in it that you don't see close up. With a pattern like this on a one-wall treatment, not only should you be thinking about how it gets chopped off at the ceiling line, you really need to plan for where it gets chopped off vertically on the left side and on the right. In this section, thanks to video, I will be able to take you along virtually. You'll be my virtual assistant or apprentice, and you can see exactly what it's like to be on a job. You can see me, or I will bring you along and try to explain to you what it is that I'm looking at, what it is that I'm looking for on certain jobs, the gut feelings that you get about maybe we better take a closer look at the paint on the wall because it's an older house and maybe we'll spend a little bit more time testing. I've brought my GoPro camera and I had it strapped to my head. That wasn't working too well. Some of the shots I've got it strapped to right here to my chest, and you see my arms doing what it is that I do, but it's actually a great piece of technology because the other videos that I've done before didn't afford me the opportunity to actually show you right up close what it is that I'm doing. Since this is a drop match with birds, I wanted to make sure that panel A and panel B both had no decapitation of the bird's head anywhere. Now, the ceiling line is the most important, and so you can see here that the piece to the right, I gave the bird about 3 inches from the top, and over to the left you see that bird appears much further down, and so we're good with that. I can't really do anything about birds' tails being chopped off at the chair rail, but at least their heads will be intact. I get down off my ladder and I check it down there. And here I am getting out the level for the second piece. Now this piece has a hidden electrical outlet. I didn't have any good footage for this, so let me go grab something else that shows how to cut out around electrical outlets. When I got to the bottom of the piece, I found a little residue of the vinyl over vinyl, so I'm going at it here in a different way, making sure that there's absolutely nothing right on that overlap where the one rides over the other. As I mentioned in the tools section, when you have these little bits of snap-off or razor blades, you don't want to just fling them. So right here I've got a magnet attached to the top of my ladder, and those snap-off bits or any old blades, I put them on the magnet, and then every few hours I clean it off and dispose of it properly. Here's a kitchen in an older home. It's got some interesting features you don't see every day. The pass-through from the kitchen to the dining room, and there's a lot of cutouts, a lot of places for joining, so I thought it was a good subject. Also, the pattern that I'm hanging is really easy to see on video. You can see it's pretty wild. To make sure that the ceiling heading looks straight, that is the horizontal line as it meets the crown molding, I chose this little detail on the red apple. It is a black stem or something. Let's just say it's a unique character that I can quickly view when I'm hanging a piece and make sure that that little detail is the same on every sheet. That is with the green arrow there. Over to the right, the blue arrow shows that I chose this heading because of the bunch of grapes. I didn't want to chop off the top grape, and so I've got a full bunch of grapes, and it also looks good in the space between the crown molding and the tops of the doors, and also looks good by the soffit over the cabinets, which you'll see later. I wallpapered this condominium in Manhattan, and it is being done in a grass cloth. The grass cloth is available in rolls that are 24 feet long or 8 yards long. The walls here have already been primed by me with a 50-50 mix of a 100% white pigmented acrylic and 50% guards by Zinsser. And let me show you a diagram of what's going on in the places that you can't see. Here I have panel 1 to the right, and then panel 2 is overlaid on top of panel 1. Now, you saw that I draw 2 lines, a plumb line on the wall, and then to the right of it, a second line, and that I call my cut line. In the time that it took to shoot this video, the piece to the left has actually expanded just a little bit more, and if I go to set the seam as a normal double cut would, let's say with a fabric back vinyl, you'll find that it goes down perfectly. Here it doesn't go down perfectly because it's expanded a bit. So you have to remove the piece or reposition the piece and get it to move just a hair to the left so that it can be set as a perfectly butted seam. And basically it goes like this. While you're up on the ladder, which I'm at the top of the ladder here, now is the time to check other things so I don't have to keep moving the ladder back and forth and climbing up and down. That little maneuver there with the plastic seam roller was not for the seam so much as to crush down a bundle of fiber that was a little bit thicker than the surrounding fiber.